We finally got word on Nick Bosa and his knee injury, and it is the worst possible news. What is good, everybody? Nothing is good. To answer my own question, Rob Stats Guerrera here with you on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. As you can see on the screen, we got the news on Nick Bosa and his knee injury, and it is the worst possible news as Nick Bosa we've confirmed, torn his ACL. He will miss the rest of the season, and that's it. It's a bummer. It is obviously the second ACL tear that he has had. Obviously, we know he tore it in 2020 against the New York Jets, and it is torn again. And I believe it is the same knee that he tore a half decade ago. Wait a minute. No, excuse me. Let me check that. This is the right knee. The last time it was the left knee. I apologize. So I misread the tweet. So it's not the same knee. So sorry about that. But obviously, this is just a brutal Monday. Brandon Miller says it, brutal Monday. Crippling. It's a crippling injury for this defense. They were playing so well. He was, you had Nick Bosa, and he was there, and he was mentoring Micah Williams and Alfred Collins and CJ West and all those guys. And now this. It is a gut punch. No two ways about it. It is a shot in the gut. It's a devastating injury for Nick Bosa, who was looking like he was going to be in prime form this year. Critical plays that he made in week one. Obviously, he had the strip or the recovery. In week two, he makes a crucial sack of Spencer Rattler on what we thought was going to be the closeout possession. Ultimately, they had to make one more stop in the game, but he was rising up in the critical moments for this team, the critical moments. And now, of course, he will miss the rest of the season, and the Niners will have to soldier on without him. It is just a brutal start to the year. Brisbee Life on Twitch, you're right. Can't ever have nice things ever. I mean, it's every week the 49ers have suffered a devastating injury to somebody. Week one, Kittle immediately out. Brock Purdy out. Jawan Jennings has been banged up as well. Obviously, we know Nick Bosa in week three. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Benali, you know what? I respect Benali, who's trying to put a positive spin on this. The Lions survived losing Aiden Hutchinson, but the Niners don't feel like that team. It's certainly not going to make it any easier. That's for damn sure. Man. I was down the street. My kids were playing at a neighbor's house, and all of a sudden my phone, I hear a little chime on my phone, and I'm like, oh, no, here we go. And it was the worst possible news. This is the final play if you're watching on the stream. Nick Bosa goes down on the left side, as you can see. Just a weird play, It wasn't even like necessarily that crazy. He's just getting blocked, and, your foot just plants in the ground at a weird angle, and it doesn't take much for that ligament to just go. And so he's got a long road to recovery. It's too soon to think about, when he's going to be back for next year and all that stuff. We got to, let him have the surgery and all that, but man, just an absolute, the season of hell continues for the 49ers injury-wise. On the field, they've been piecing it together, but man, you wish Nick Bosa was in there. Gameplan.exe on Twitch says, Huff 16 sack season loading. I mean, look, Bryce Huff has been playing well. They're going to obviously have to rely on him more. Man, this is why couldn't it have been anything, right? Like, even if it was a 2-month injury, it would have been better. We cannot have nice stuff, man. J. Cruz 49er says, we have to take a serious look at our training staff. We're always injured. It's ridiculous. I don't think this is a training staff thing. I think this is just sometimes people tear their ACLs playing football thing. I don't know what the training staff could have done to prevent that. Look, there's legitimate questions about the staff that you can ask. This one, I don't think is their fault. I don't know how they could have prevented this. It's not their fault. Nick Bosa just got caught in a weird angle. Nicholas says the Lions did not survive Hutchinson. The defense completely changes after that. Well, they lost other people on the defense that year too. So I don't know what you do if you're the 49ers at this point, right? You're 3-0. Do you try and go out and trade for another pass rusher? I don't know. Maybe that'll be determined in the weeks to come if they keep winning. But then if they keep winning, do they need another pass rusher? I guess you always need another pass rusher, but well, it'll be interesting to see how they handle this. But you could kind of tell just in the post-game reactions, Fred Warner saying he was going to pray for Nick Bosa when he was up at the podium. Trent Williams talked about losing Nick Bosa. I think everybody kind of had the sense of this is not like a 1 or 2 or even a 3-week thing. And, we had the picture up before with the Nick Bosa thumbs down, right? That I think was very telling. Kyle said, well, they did the test on the field and we don't think it's, a major, or they didn't necessarily think it was going to be an ACL, but you could tell that he could tell, right? He knows how it feels. There was the thumbs down from Nick Bosa. He knows how it feels because he tore his ACL before. So I'm sure he was like, this feels exactly like last time. That's why he gave the thumbs down. Man, I tweeted it at the time. I hope he doesn't have a torn ACL. And people were like, oh, he walked off the field. What are you talking about? Mike Ditka played a whole season on a torn ACL. Just because the guy walks off doesn't mean his ACL is fine. And ultimately, obviously, we found out that was the case. So just a devastating, devastating day for the 49ers. We all know the schedule is easier and all that stuff, but, you're losing a superstar. You're losing a top defensive player in the league, and there's no fixing that. There's no recovering from that. There's no anything. It just sucks. That's it. Like, we just have to feel this pain. And it's extremely frustrating that we haven't had a win this year as 49ers fans where we could just celebrate and be happy with no dark cloud hanging over our shoulders. But that's where we are this year, unfortunately. And it's the latest thing. I don't even know what to say. I don't want to repeat myself over and over again. Sonny says they should trade for Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals are going nowhere with Joe Burrow out. I mean, it'd be interesting. It's worth a call, right? Now, obviously, Cincinnati knows you're sort of up against it, but it's worth a call. It was worth a call before when he was on the trade block. I don't know if Jed York is going to, look, he has wanted to pare down the spending, right? He's wanted to control the spending. Do the 49ers trade for him and say, look, we're not going to pay you? Like, we're not going to extend your contract. We'll trade for you, but we're not going to extend the contract. That would seem kind of nuts if you're the 49ers. But yeah, it's just not the way you thought the season would go. We all had our plans for this year and what we thought could happen. And, you got to be able to adapt on the fly. And this is just one of those things that you're going to have to figure out as we go along. Brian Rennick says Nick Bosa's injury is going to put more pressure on Mykel Williams, but it will also put more pressure on Alfred Collins and CJ West to step up their presence inside so Williams can shift out wide. That's the other crappy part of this, is that Bosa was allowing them to use Mykel Williams exactly the way they wanted to, right? They could have him outside. They could have him inside. You could line them both up on the same side like we saw on that Bosa sack against the Saints. And then you just collapse one side of the offensive line. They were able to use Mykel Williams in the most advantageous way possible. Now they're going to have to use Mykel Williams the way they have to use Mykel Williams, if that makes sense. Before, they could use him whatever way was optimal for the situation because they had so much flexibility. Now with Bosa out, does that change? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't change. Maybe I'm dead wrong about this, but I have a feeling at least a little bit, it will probably alter it, I would say. And that's frustrating because you lessen the chances of Mykel Williams being as effective if he would be if you were just able to perfectly place him along the defensive line at all times. So, Come On Friday says, no, you got to play them where they're best. Make a trade with the Dolphins, Houston, the Jets team that's going nowhere for an edge player. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure John Lynch is going to pick up the phone. I'm sure. Stovey 4x4, no one is going to trade for Bosa. I'm not saying that they would trade for Bosa. I'm saying the Niners would trade for another pass rusher. So sorry if there was confusion there. That is not what I was saying at all. Brisbee Life on Twitch says, I think they probably put Huff in for Bosa more than anything and leave Williams doing similar stuff. I hope so. I mean, Huff is certainly going to have to play a lot more now, for sure. That's why I always say, like, you can never have enough good pass rushers, ever. There is no team that has ever said, no, thanks, we don't need any more. You always need them. Always, always, always. Jan says we need to turn the NFL into a VR game. Season results purely based on talent and execution. No more injuries. Yeah, look, it certainly would be nice if the 49ers could have a season where they don't lose multiple major players to devastating injuries. I would like to live in that. Of all the parallel universes on planet Earth, I would sure like to live in that one. Man. Benali says Mac Jones and a pick to the Bengals for Hendrickson. LOL, kidding. I would do it. Hey, you never know. Throw it out there, right? What if they say yes? Nicholas says, can SF continue to pay Bosa with his injury history? Well, they're going to pay Nick Bosa. I mean, I don't know what the cap hit would be if they were to release him, but you're not going to do that because he's too good of a player. You're not just going to cut him. I know it's frustrating with the injuries, but I mean, he came back. Don't forget, last time he had the ACL in 2020. In 2021, he came back and he was a psycho. He was a madman all over the field. I'm just looking at Bosa's deal right now. Yeah, no, his cap hit, if you were to cut Nick Bosa, his cap hit is $75 million. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be getting out of that one. So, no, it's just a bummer, man. I don't, it's just things that happen. The first time Bosa got rolled up on, this time he just foot stuck in the ground, and that was that. I don't think it's, a indictment of Nick Bosa as a player that he tore his ACL twice. Stuff happens. Not every injury is a referendum on somebody. Sometimes there are freak injuries, like James Conner, freak injury. It happens. Waltony101 on Twitch says, I think that's the fourth captain to miss game time already this season. What unbelievable luck. Well, let's see. Brock, obviously. Kittle, obviously. Bosa. Who is the other captain that I met? Juice? I guess Juice would be the fourth one. That's crazy. They've only played for 3 weeks. 3 freaking weeks. Nick Bosa couldn't even get 20 snaps in before the injury gods killed him. Not killed him, I shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean. There's a theory that Christian McCaffrey is sucking the health out of every other 49er so that he can stay healthy on the field. And this injury certainly isn't going to do anything to dissuade people's thinking on that. Oh, God. This is just the worst. Even if it was a 2-month injury, or hell, even a 3-month injury, you think like maybe we can weather the storm and he can come back in the playoffs and we can do something. This is the worst possible news. Worst possible news. JCG 1987, thank you for the super chat, says, on a good note, that broken locker room rumor from last year looks bunk. Maybe it was a diva Debo all along. That belief in each other looks sky high. Well, that's why it's so frustrating, because it did seem like everybody was pulling in the same direction, right? Everybody was exercising the demons from last year with the close games and all these victories and close games that they were pulling out. It really did seem like, oh my God, we've put all that behind us. And now we're young and hungry again, and we can just go out and, attack and be the hunter instead of the hunted, as I talked about before the year began. And look, they can still do all of that, but this is a hit. This is a hit, no doubt about it. Any way you slice it, this stinks. This is going to take some air out of the balloon. And look, nobody cares, right? Like, no one's going to feel sorry for you. Jacksonville, it's not like Jacksonville's not going to play as hard next week because Nick Bosa is not going to be out there. But they're going to have to feel this one and absorb this one for sure. For sure. Now, Kyle Shanahan should have a conference call later today. I'm sure he'll be in a real festive mood on that one. But, yeah, I'm sure he's going to say all the things, next man up, and, you can't replace Bosa, but we got to try, and all that stuff. It all applies, but today is just going to be a absorb the loss day. Take a day and just suck it up, feel the loss, and then when you come back to work on Wednesday, because you have Tuesday off, you have to get back to it. You have no other choice. Like, the wheels of the NFL don't stop regardless of who gets injured. So the Niners will have to get over it. But, yeah, they are going to have to adjust to life without their best, or at worst, second best defensive player. Oh, man. I was down at a neighbor's house playing with my kids, and the news came out, and I think I restrained myself from swearing out loud, or at least I looked around to see if any of the kids were around before I dropped a few expletives. Benali says, I don't know if the 49ers spend more draft capital after already trading for Huff, but solid drafted Will McDonald in the first round a few years ago. The Jets are probably not winning a lot. The guy Salah has picked this offseason, let's be honest, they seem to be kicking butt for the 49ers. So if he's got somebody else in mind, come on down, especially if they can get him for cheap. But man, Tony says, I don't know if Cam Jordan wants to leave the Saints, but if the Niners could get Cam Jordan, that would be great. Look, if there's one thing we know about this regime is that they will investigate. They will look for stuff that's out there. I don't know if anything's going to come to fruition, but I can tell you John Lynch will make the calls. I'm sure he'll call the Bengals and investigate. I'm sure he'll call everybody. The Jets, the former Salah players probably have a leg up on some of the other guys for sure, but they're not afraid to take swings. Excuse me. And I wonder if, I think part of it comes down to how the 49ers see themselves. Going into this season, I've talked about it with Levin and with others, sort of a transition year for the 49ers, right? They were transitioning from 49ers 1.0 in the Shanahan era to this new core, this new group, this new iteration of the team and what they were going to be. So they didn't have the Super Bowl expectations going into this year like they have in certain years. Obviously, they want to win the Super Bowl and they're going to try their hardest to win a Super Bowl. But I think deep down in places they don't talk about at parties, 49ers knew this isn't really a Super Bowl year. Now they start 3-0. Now the defensive rookies start to look really good. And you're like, hey, maybe we got a bunch of dogs. Maybe we took, 4 or 5 guys out of this draft class that are really good. And George Kittle has a George Kittle season. And all of a sudden, Ricky Pearsall looks like, Brandon Ayuk looked in 2023. Did their thinking change? Did they think like, hey, you know what? Sorry about that. Did their thinking change? Like maybe we are that good. Maybe we can make a run at this thing. And if so, do they then go out and make a move? That's the question. They will make the calls, I'm sure. And maybe the move they make is not a Trey Hendrickson move. Maybe it's for a Will McDonald or something like that, or somebody that, maybe they think has some untapped potential and that they could plug in. I shouldn't say never. You're very unlikely to get a replacement for Bosa. Like Trey Hendrickson would be a Bosa replacement, at least against the pass. I don't know how he is against the run, but at least against the pass, that would be a replacement because he's that good. But there aren't many of those guys out there, and there certainly aren't many of those guys out there that are available for trade. So Waltony 101 says, with that, John Lynch calling you to check your availability. Hey, I'd say this. If he wanted my ACL, he could have it. I would happily give it up. No, that was the alarm. Usually I'm picking up my kid from school at this time, but they had a half day today. But I forgot to turn my alarm off on my phone because Nick Bosa tore his ACL. Sorry about that. Brisbee Life says, hey, go trade for Chase Young. That's funny. Khan says the rookie D linemen are going to get thrown in the fire even more now. Yeah, they absolutely are. Michael says, are there any interesting free agents available? Off the top of my head, I don't know, but here's what I do know. Anybody that can rush the passer in any way, shape, form, or fashion is signed with a team because those guys don't grow on trees. It's the number one thing you need as a defense. So there's no one out there that you're going to sign off the street that is going to come anywhere close to replacing the production that he gave you. I'm just checking the 49ers beat. People are suggesting Arden Key as a possibility. But like, Arden Key, what are we doing? Like, what's that going to do? That's not, Arden Key's a guy. Nick Bosa's a elite stud. Nick Wagner, I should pop this tweet up for you. Says, while the Niners had hoped Bosa avoided a season-ending ACL tear, it was telling that Bosa clearly felt something was off. Bosa takes incredible care of his body and knows it best. The thumbs down right after it was a sign that something was wrong. Second ACL tear in his NFL career, this time the right knee. So again, I confused that earlier in the show. It's not the same knee that he tore in 2020, but it is a bummer. Nonetheless, left knee, right knee, whatever knee. Daniil Hunter, people are saying. I don't know the cap situation with any of those guys, the contract situation. I don't know, but they will investigate. I'm sure they will investigate. It's going to be very difficult to get anybody that replaces anything close to what Nick Bosa gave you. And if they do, it ain't going to be cheap. So it's going to cost you one way or the other. It's going to cost you capital or it's going to cost you games on the field, unfortunately. Fox had a stat. It was let me see if I can bring up my notes real quick. With Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams on the field, the Niners had like a 60% pressure rate. And with Michael Williams and Nick Bosa off the field, it was 25% was the pressure rate. Now, look, Michael Williams is still there, but clearly Bosa is a huge part of it. So their defense is absolutely going to take a hit. Their defense will take a hit. All the rookies will take a hit. Oh, God, this one stings. This one stings. We can't lose any more people, man. We can't. This was supposed to be the week where they were getting dudes back, right? DeMarcus Robinson's suspension was over. Brock Purdy was healthy enough to play this week against the Jags. This is when the injury luck was supposed to turn. And not only did it not turn, we're deeper in the hole now. And they can't climb out of this one until 2026. Gameplan.exe on Twitch says, unpopular opinion, we shouldn't make any splashes to replace this loss. If we make the playoffs and there's someone to sign, then sure, not before then, though. Well, there won't be anybody to sign at the playoff time. I mean, that's not an option. There's nobody to sign now. You think there's going to be more people available come playoff time? Just checking Twitter real quick. Somebody says, I'm picking up the phone and calling the 0-3 Giants about Kayvon Thibodeau. Definitely a possibility. For sure, he's in the fourth year of his rookie deal. New York already has two starting caliber pass rushers in Brian Burns and Abdul Carter. Again, I have no doubt in my mind that they will investigate. What will come of it, I don't know. And then what are the 49ers willing to give up to get a Nick Bosa replacement? That I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Gold Rush and Beyond says, so we can get another DL from another team and still have to hope. I mean, look, I wouldn't say that the season is over because, again, I didn't think the 49ers had Super Bowl aspirations, and I don't think this injury means that they can't be a playoff team. I still think they can make the playoffs, especially having banked 3 wins already. Like, despite the Bosa injury, they don't take those wins away. So I still think they can make the playoffs, but they're going to be worse, no question about it. JCG 1987 says, if Saleh wants a head coaching job, this void is the audition. I mean, he was already looking like it was going to be amazing, but if he can find a way to get juice out of this defense and continue for them to play at a level close to what they're playing at now, yeah, I mean, he'll be a head coach next year for sure. For sure. Charlene says, we don't have anyone to give in a trade. They're all already injured. You're not wrong, Charlene. Benali says, if Brock doesn't play next week, what captains do the 49ers have? What a mess. We're running out of captains. We're running out of pass rushers. The Huddle, RD, this is interesting, says, does Sebastian Valdez play in the meantime? I mean, they're going to have to replace Bosa with somebody on the roster for sure. Does Nick Martin somehow get activated? I don't know. Trip Aces says it's not about making the playoffs. It's about winning the division to get the home game. Oh, man. And they could still win the division. It's a tough division right now, though. I mean, everybody's 2-1, except for the 49ers, who are 3-0. And the only reason that Seattle has a loss is because they played the 49ers in week 1. And they looked really good against the Saints. The Rams are coming off a devastating loss to Philadelphia, but I got a super chat here that I missed. Sorry. Joe says, the goal was always to just get to the playoffs and see what happens. Same energy. Yeah, I agree. Like, again, that was my edict for the 49ers before the year began. Just get to the playoffs and we will see what happens. And I still think that is true. It's just what will happen looks a lot different now without Nick Bosa. That's the part that's a bummer. What will happen or what could have happened, right? Because that's the thing. When you've got a Nick Bosa, if a playoff game came down to one play, one defensive stop, you certainly feel a hell of a lot better if 97 is out there. He's a guy that in any moment can rise up and deliver a play that maybe 3-4 guys in the entire league are capable of delivering. And that could be the difference in a playoff game to whether you pull off an upset on a team like Philadelphia or Detroit or Green Bay or Tampa Bay or whoever you're playing. It could have been that guy in that moment. How many times did we see Chris Jones for the Chiefs in huge defensive spots in Super Bowls against the 49ers rise up and make incredible plays, right? Now the 49ers could get that play from somebody else. Sure, of course, that's always a possibility. But the chances of you getting it from Nick Bosa are certainly a lot higher than they would be for anybody else. And that's why this hurts. And you're also just bummed for Nick Bosa, right? I mean, second ACL tear. He's coming off what I think he would tell you was a down year last year. Looked really good this year, looked really prepared, was really putting it together, really helping the young guys. And now he's in rehab world. And that sucks, man. Injury rehab is brutal and it's lonely and it's just monotonous. And he knows exactly what he's in for because he's already done it. Oh, this is just, it felt like a nightmare when I got the news. I don't know how it felt for you, but when I saw it on my phone, I was literally like, just please, anything but this. Anything but this. I was hoping, maybe it was a meniscus thing. Maybe it was a PCL, whatever it was. Even if he had to sit out for 2 months, I was willing to accept anything except this. I was listening to Dieter and Hutch, and they were talking about how Bosa was like doing high knees on the sideline and stuff. And I was like, well, if he's doing that, it can't be an ACL if he's doing that, right? Trying to cope and trying to talk myself into it. And now, not. Nicholas says, FYI, this is his third ACL tear. Did he tear one in high school or college? I think he tore it maybe in high school. I don't know. Regardless, it's his second in the NFL. Yeah, he knows what he's in for. Maybe he needs to get on the Jerry Rice ACL rehab program. Remember when Jerry Rice tore his ACL and returned during the same season? Can we get him on that? Hey, Jerry, what do you got going on? Can you go down the street and help Nick Bosa? Because we need him back for the playoffs. Of course, that was a week 1 where he tore his ACL. Batman 29. Didn't Kyle say he avoided the ACL yesterday? No, he didn't. He said they did the ACL check, and normally they can tell you one way or another whether they tore it, and they didn't say whether he tore it. So what Kyle said yesterday is we haven't ruled anything out. So there was a little confusion there, but Kyle didn't say yesterday definitively, oh, he definitely definitely didn't tear his ACL. Sorry. Oh, Arjun says he didn't even play on the MetLife field. Yeah, I know that, some 49ers beat writers think that all injuries happen on turf. And no, this is Levi's grass, man. It's unfortunate. There's some injuries, you understand that maybe coaching or play calling or whatever might have had something to do with it. Maybe this is just a freak thing. This is a freak thing. That block, what happened to Bosa probably happens a billion times a year. And this time it happened to just put the pressure on the knee that popped the ACL. Oscar says, Rob, thanks for keeping the faithful in the loop. Appreciate the super chat, Oscar. Thank you very much. Benali says, remember when the 49ers thought they had the healthy Bosa? Oh, man. And, we haven't even really gotten into the whole, is he going to be able to come back from this? Nick Bosa is not 25 years old anymore. And that is a real thing that you have to consider. And I know that's far down the road now because we're only in week 4, but it's not going to be easy. That's for sure. He's 27 years old. You can't just assume that he's going to come back and be the Nick Bosa that we have seen out there. So again, that's way down the line, but it's possible. Why are so many people suggesting Arden Key? Arden Key is not going to do anything. Okay. Just because he was on the 49ers before, we don't have to only get people that have played on the 49ers in the past. Arden Key is just a guy, okay? The best season he ever had in San Francisco, he had 6.5 sacks. If you think that you can replace Nick Bosa with Arden Key, you are mistaken. I will say that. Oscar, becomes a new YouTube channel member. Thank you very much, Oscar. We appreciate that. It's less than $3 a month if you want to sign up. You get custom emojis, membership badges, priority comment response. I write also on the YouTube page for our members, so you can see the different articles that I post with my ramblings. So please become a YouTube channel member if you can. Shout out to everybody watching. There's almost 1,000 people watching right now. I wish I had better news, unfortunately. Usually we like to do this when there's good news happening, but we don't have good news today. We have the worst possible news, but we're live every single day. We react to breaking news, obviously, as I'm here. We go live after games. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you are just checking us out for the first time, I promise you will come back. Let's see. RGCWPB says, how big is the Saleh hire now? Can you imagine if this happened with Sorensen at defensive coordinator? Yeah, my God, man. I mean, then it would be like defense ending. right? Like we have seen this defense without Nick Bosa, and it was putrid. Even when he would go off the field just to take a rest with Nick Sorensen. If Salah wasn't here, we'd be in even more trouble. Don't even mention Salah's name at this point. I'm afraid he's going to get hurt the way it's been going. Dirty Slippers says, the only thing that hurts more than the sunburn I got from being at the game is Bosa blowing out his ACL. That's a double whammy for you, sir or ma'am, and I'm sorry. Howdy says, huge season for Huff coming in. Let's get these wins for Nick. Red Zone Gold 49 says the win now feels like a loss. Yeah, doesn't feel great for sure. Like I said, we've seen significant injuries for everybody after games so far this season. You just gotta hope now. We're in the hopium phase. Maybe it'll be that the young defense has to grow up early and rises up and gets really good experience, and Salah puts it together. And again, they're not going to have the number one defense in the league, but maybe they can piece it up and still be a valuable defense. The thought going into the year was that the offense was going to have to carry the team, right? It was Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle and Jawan Jennings, Christian McCaffrey, obviously. That was the thinking going into the year. Now, it changed real quick with the wide receiver injuries and the Brock injuries and all that to where the defense was carrying the team. But the thought that we had, 4 weeks ago was, maybe a little more than that actually, was that the offense would carry the team. Hopefully, we can get some of these guys back, and maybe that can be the case again. Mr. J says, yeah, great hope, Rob. I'm trying, Mr. J, okay? I am trying. I'm trying to pull myself up from the depths of despair. At least the schedule, right? At least they don't have last year's schedule. If there was ever a year where they could sustain this and still get to the playoffs, it's this year with this schedule, for sure. And yeah, it's hopium. I get it, man. What do you want me to do? Come on here and say the season is over and no one should watch anymore and there's no reason to pay attention. I'm not going to do that because I don't believe it to be true. Am I bummed about this? Yeah. Hell yeah, I'm bummed about this. 1,000%. But no, I don't think the season is over. You're playing Jacksonville this week. They are not very good. The Rams game just got exponentially tougher. Exponentially tougher on Thursday Night Football. This is the stretch. These next games, Jacksonville, the Rams, the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Texans. Although the Texans maybe end up being a little easier game than we thought. But that is the toughest stretch of the 49ers schedule. We are about to embark on it. So we'll see. Demarcus Robinson, also, I didn't even mention him. His suspension is over. He's coming back. So maybe that'll help to where they can lean on the offense a little bit. But yeah, you're missing one of the best pass rushers in the league. You're damn well right it's going to hurt against the Rams and the Bucks and all those guys. Yeah. But does that mean I think that they're only going to win 2 more games this year? No. They could still get to the playoffs this year. 100% they could still get to the playoffs. Just going to be harder. That's all. Howdy says, without hope, there is nothing. Niners can still make noise. Dirty Slippers says, we're getting people back. The offense will have to pull their weight more. I totally agree. Totally agree. Oscar says, it's hard to feel upbeat. Let's have this offense hit its stride. The best way to offset the Bosa loss is to score a lot more points. Yeah, exactly. And, they certainly can. If there's one thing you can say about this 49ers team, and Kyle Juszczyk said it after the game, they are not in their final form yet. They have not played their best football yet. And that is at least something that you can rest your hat on. I think that's completely true. They have not played their best football yet. So you got to take it as it comes now. And I will say this too about Kyle Shanahan. I thought Kyle had a fantastic game yesterday, situationally. And the fact that he was going for it on 4th down multiple times, the fact that before the long bomb to Pearsall on 4th down, Kyle knew he was going for it on 3rd down. He knew 2 downs ahead of time, like, hey, I'm calling a run on 3rd down because I'm going for it on 4th down. So it wasn't like a, what do I do? Like a gut decision. Like he thought about it and planned it out. And that is awesome because I have been howling about that, about him going for it on 4th down. I don't want to speak too soon, but did his thinking start to change on some of this game management stuff? Did he finally start to realize that fourth down doesn't have to be this scary thing that you can never attempt to go for it on. And if you don't get it, you can still recover. Because if it has, those are the little edges that a coach can give a team. And that a team that maybe, is missing players or doesn't have players on the roster that are that good, those decisions can give that team an edge. So maybe, again, that'll be another thing that the 49ers have to lean on while Nick Bosa is out. Brisbee Life on Twitch says secondary needs to be locked down now. Save us, Malik Mustafa. Yep. I agree. Another guy returning from injury. Ulrich says the Bosa second ACL. How much longer will he be able to play on that knee? It's the other knee. So, although one of the knees has been torn twice because he's already torn his ACL twice. So, yeah, I guess that's true. There are multiple ACL tears on one of his knees. Niner faithful. Kyle didn't have his QB1, wide receiver 1, tight end 1, and third and Juwan and was dialing it up. Yeah, they had, 300 plus yards. They had more yards than the Cardinals. The Cardinals had their starting quarterback. The Cardinals had their number 1 wide receiver. Now, they did lose James Conner to a grotesque knee injury or leg injury. The James Conner injury was so bad. News came out. It was like, yep, it's season ending. They don't even know the extent of the damage, but we know he's not playing football again. That's how bad that was. The Ferd says 1 injury per week. It's crazy how unlucky this team is. The Niners will not win a Super Bowl under Kyle. This isn't just a Kyle Shanahan thing. The Niners had injury problems before Kyle Shanahan even became the head coach. They've had 3 healthy quarterback years since 2014. That predates Kyle Shanahan. So I know we're mad and sad and we're looking for somebody to blame on this one, but we got to be rational here. Twigster54 says ACL tear surgery replaces the ligament so you can do the surgery multiple times. I don't know if they replace it or if they repair it. I think at times they can replace it. I know for the elbow, they can replace it. I don't know if they replace it for an ACL or if they repair it, but I don't care if they put a new one in there, man. There's only so many times you could do that to your body. Your knees and your joints, they're complex machines for your body. And they have to be able to function and to be able to sustain stresses unlike normal human life, right? It might be one thing for a normal, regular person to get multiple ACL tears. It's another for a person that's putting tremendous stress and strain on their legs and knees and body over and over and over and over and over again for weeks on end. Every play, I think Arizona had 65 plays. It's not something you could do forever. I don't care if they're replacing the ligament or not. Niner Faithful is taking donations for ACLs in the chat. It's got to be some sort of medical violation, but that's okay. Visionary SR says they need to go after Trey from Cincinnati, Trey Hendrickson. There you go. That would be a tremendous replacement, but Cincinnati ain't giving him up for free. So, oh, God. I think we're all doing a good job of commiserating. But, again, you just have to feel this loss today. You just have to suck it up and absorb it, and we can commiserate together, and then they're going to have to get back to work, unfortunately. And they will. They'll give it a go. NFL players are wired in that next man up mentality. They'll get asked about it. Kyle will be asked about it on his conference call today. The players will be asked about it when they're back in front of the media as well. We'll have a day of mourning, and then they got to get back to it. And like we said, they still got plenty of good defensive players. They can still make the playoffs. 3 wins already in the bank. I said before the year started, it's probably going to take 10, right? 10 wins to get you to the playoffs in the NFC. They are essentially a third of the way there. 3 wins, 30%. And 2 division wins this year, by the way, already, which they only had 1 all of last year. So CRP says, we'll be okay, Rob. I like the Ayuk for an edge trade. We have good wide receiver depth. I don't know that anyone's going to trade for Brandon Ayuk coming off his own devastating knee injury. But I tell you what, if they could do it, they would. If they could find a taker for Ayuk, they would. I mean, they tried to give him away and nobody wanted him. If they ever could to get an edge rusher, they would do it. Particularly in a year where Ricky Pearsall he's basically Brandon Ayuk from 2023. Every time he catches the ball, it's a first down. Every time he catches the ball, it's like a 15-yard gain. They would do it. I just don't think that there's going to be a market for that, unfortunately. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hug your loved ones, have a drink, whatever you need to do to cope with this unfortunate news, please do. And by the way, before I go, I should mention this word from Sleeper.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code GSPE. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. Don't think that we're cursed, man. Try and be positive. Good vibes only. How about that? Let's try and, it hurts. Look at what we have. Try and focus more on what we have as opposed to focusing on who's not there. I know. Look, I get it. It's hard, man. It sucks. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't. Clearly it does. But Valerie says losing on a victory Monday, no bueno. Yeah, only the 49ers could lose on a victory Monday, Valerie. That's a good point. But we just got to try and, get through it. And if they go out and they beat the Jags on Sunday and if it's a 35-30 win, adjust our expectations. There's nothing else we can do. Bosa's not coming back through the door. So Sean Turner says Rob is on his 9th eulogy of the hour. I'm trying to be positive. What do you want from me? You don't want to hear me come on and say the season is over. There's no reason to watch anymore. Not when the team is 3-0. I mean, if they were 0-3 and Bosa got hurt, it'd be a lot different, right? But it's not. I never promise 100% accuracy on the shows. I promise 100% authenticity. This is how I really feel. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I'm hurting. I get all that. Do I still think they can make the playoffs? Absolutely. 100%. So let's be positive. We'll be positive together. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll talk to you. Vish and I will still be live later tonight. We're going to go through the game drive by drive. Obviously, he'll react to the Bosa news as well. But we're still going to break down the game. So if you want a more positive show, that'll be a positive show because there is a lot of good things to talk about with this game. So make sure you join us for that. Again, 5 p.m. Pacific time tonight. Try to enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk then.